Delayed paying your VAT during lockdown 1.0 and need a little bit longer to pay? Well, watch on. As a business accountant, my team and I spent all day long helping business owners on their journey. Now, as you can imagine, during the first early lockdowns, or lockdown 1.0, as it's often referred to now in the UK, there was a lot of concern over cash. You know, people stopped paying bills, stopped paying their suppliers, and as a result, a lot of businesses kind of were worried about their cash. And there was a lot of injection of, bounce back loans and all these other things. One of the possible options that was on offer was if you were VAT registered and you had a VAT bill that was due between around the 20th of March and the 30th of June 2020, you could opt not to pay it. It was automatic, you just kept it. And actually, I think that's proven to be quite a problem for a lot of businesses. They just think in the back of their head, they forget about it. Not all of them, but I know we've seen clients who have been like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And it's coming now, it's becoming real because it has to be paid before the 31st of March 2021. So a lot of people now are scrambling around thinking, what am I going to do in the next couple of weeks to sort this out? The revenue and the government knew that, look, it's probably not still going to be in a case where a lot of people have recovered to the point where they've suddenly got these massive chunks of VAT that they've used to survive to suddenly hand over. So they've allowed you the option to pay even longer. Now that option is actually up to 11 months. Now at the time of recording this video and the time this goes out, it's probably going to be slightly shorter for you. It depends on how quick you are after watching this video that you choose to apply. But in theory, you had an extra 11 months. And the way it works is you apply online and it's done by a direct debit. So before I get into a couple of the details, if you like these type of videos, make sure to click subscribe and you'll be notified whenever we release another video just like this one. So the system will work on direct debit. It's applied online. Unfortunately, accountants can't do this. We've tested it and we've seen the system, and actually it's not too bad. And what we've done is we've put together a step-by-step guide. There's a link in the description that will show you where we've got that on our website, and you can go and kind of follow the steps. But it is a case of just logging into an online system. You need a government gateway, so you're going to need to register for that. You can do that if you haven't already got one, or if you have got one, generally you can just use that login. It doesn't take too long. I reckon the whole process takes around 15 minutes if you've got all the information. Now, the information you're going to need before you start is things like VAT number. You're going to need your VAT registration certificate because you're going to need to know what business address they hold for you, because you're going to need to be able to put that in. You're going to need to know your VAT number, as we said, and you're going to need to know the effective date of registration, the date that you applied to be VAT registered. That's really important, and you're going to need those. You're also going to need a copy of your last VAT return, because they're going to ask you about how much was on your last VAT return. And they're going to ask you a really badly worded question, so which I'll come back to in a minute. So the whole process starts with you logging in, and then it's going to show you here, enter your VAT number. And then you're going to go through the process and prove all these different things that you'll need. And at some point, they're going to ask you, okay, what was the month of the last return you submitted? Now, I think for most people, they're going to think, well, I submitted it in February, or submitted it in March, whenever they did it. And this isn't the one that you deferred. This is the last VAT return you physically did. And that's actually the wrong question. What they're really asking you is, what was the period that return covered? So, if it was a March return, it might be that the answer is March. And if you get this wrong, if you get this early information wrong around your business postcode when you registered and those figures, it will say, we can't find your business, and you won't be able to do it. And you get 3 attempts at doing that. So you do want to have all that information to hand before you start. There's no kind of way of saving it halfway through. It's a sort of a one-shot wonder, so you're going to need that info. But yeah, you get 3 attempts. And if you get through that bit, I think that's the most difficult bit, then the rest of it is really you agreeing to the terms, and it offers you the options of how you want to pay it. Now, the way it works is that you'll be offered a payment, and you have to make a payment pretty soon from when you do it. So I think if you apply for it sort of in the back end of March, they're probably going to want a payment for you around the 1st of April, and then they're going to want you on direct debit from then on. And you can actually pick the day that it's going to come out of your bank, and it will give you a payment plan on there. So it'll say, this is all the amounts that's going to come out, and it's all over this period. It's actually pretty good. And then the key tip for that is, before you leave, make sure that you click and print, because it's a bit weird. It goes through the process and it's kind of like, yeah, we're done. And it does remind you to do it, but it's easy to miss it, is make sure you print the payment plan just so you've got it for your record, so you know it's there. Now, there's a couple of caveats for this. The first one is to make sure that you've submitted all of your VAT returns. If any of them aren't up to date, you're not going to be able to use that online form. But what I will say is, if you do struggle to actually do this, you can still phone HMRC's business support payment line and do a deal. Basically, it's all possible. But to use this online system, you're going to need to make sure everything's up to date, and you're going to need to have this info. And that info includes your bank details. I didn't mention it at the beginning, but obviously you're going to need that for the direct debit setup, because it does take you through a direct debit process. And that is it. So if you do need that extra time, use the process, log in, do the automated system, and if all else fails, phone the revenue. Until the next one, see you then.